Hi everyone, on this week's video we have a cozy recipe but kicked up a notch. And if you don't want to make this recipe as fancy, just skip the prime rib and add ground beef. What we did was take the leftovers from a prime rib that we did. You use 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 to 2 pounds of smoked prime rib with the bones, 2 ancho chilies, which is about 1,000 to 2,000 Scoville units, 1 guajillo chili, which is 2,500 to 5,000 Scoville units, 1 California chili, which is 500 to 2,500 Scoville units, 2 pasilla chilies, which is 1,000 to 2,500 Scoville units, 1 cascabel chili, which is 1,500 to 2,500 Scoville units, and about 3 medium red onions. And these are dried chilies, and they all have their own versions that are the raw versions. These last for a good period of time. You do want to keep these in a cool, dry place, and they're not very expensive, but this is a great way to add flavor to any chili mix. Then your other ingredients are going to be 2 cans of tomatoes. They can be whole, they can be diced, 3 cups of dry pintos, and then about a cup of red beans, 2 cups of frozen corn, 12 cups of water, and that's going to go into a pressure cooker, some salt-free chicken bouillon. You do not want to use salt in the beans because that will make them not cook as well, and then pepper, some Hungarian smoked paprika, and garlic powder, and then whatever seasoning mix that you want. The first thing you're going to do is sort your beans, and then sort out any wrinkly beans and rocks that might be in there because they do grow in the ground. Just sort out any of your beans that look funny. And you can do this on a sheet pan or just do it in the bottom of your pressure cooker. And then you're going to rinse in a strainer and make sure if you sorted them in your Instapot bowl or pot, then you rinse that out as well. And just rinse those out in the strainer and make sure that those are clean, and make sure that you're sorting both sets of your beans. And then you're going to add your water and your bouillon into your Instapot and cook that about 90 minutes. And you are using a 6-quart or larger pressure cooker because you don't want to overflow the pressure cooker during that time period. And you can cook these with a crock pot. You just need to cook them overnight. Check out my dried beans video if you want to see how to cook them in a crock pot. And it's pretty easy. You just don't want to add any acidic ingredients or sugar in with dried beans because they won't cook. While those beans are cooking, you are going to use scissors, and each of these chilies, you're going to cut that stem end off of the chilies. And you want to wear gloves while you're doing this because the chilies will kind of get into your hands, and then if you touch your eyes, then that could be bad, or your face, because then you will end up with a little bit of some irritation. But cut that stem end off of there, and then shake out any of your seeds. And you can break those up a little bit and then put them into a heat-proof bowl because you're going to be putting boiling water over these eventually. And just put each of those chilies in there, and you can kind of break them in half. Then you are going to put boiling water over top of the chilies. A kettle works perfectly for this. If you do not have a kettle in your house, I strongly recommend that you get one. And this is going to rehydrate them and get them softened up a little bit, and just let those sit while you are getting some other ingredients together. And then we are going to be cutting your onions while those sit. So cut a little bit off the root end and stem end of your onions, and then cut them in half through the root. This is going to let your onions stay together while you are cutting them up. And then you are just going to peel off that papery skin off the outside of each of your onions. And we are using red onions for this, which you could use white onions, but we just had red onions on hand and it worked out perfectly. But peeling the onion, you can peel the papery skin off when it's whole, but it's a lot easier to take it off when they are cut in half. So just pop that off as you are going. Then you're going to cut straight down about 1/4 inch apart, not cutting through the root. And this is why we cut in half through that root end, because this is going to hold the entire onion together so that it's a lot easier to cut it up and you don't end up with pieces all over your board. Then you are going to turn that onion 90 degrees and cut the pieces into a dice so that you have nice even pieces. And they do not have to be perfect because we are going to be cooking this down a good bit. So you don't have to be super precise about this, but just repeat that with your remaining onions. You can also use the frozen pepper and onion mix for this if you do not have time to be cutting up stuff, but we did not have any of that this time, so we just used regular onions. Add a couple of tablespoons of oil to the large stock pot and add your onions in, and you're going to cook this on medium high until it's soft and lightly brown. So add those in, and while these are cooking down, we're going to be working with your chilies. While we are working on those chilies, you should go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can help this channel out and we can keep on making videos. So remove the chilies from the water and place them in a strainer so that we make sure we get all those chilies out of there, and then we are going to place those into a cup so that we can get them pureed. And then we are going to strain out a little bit of the water into the cup so that that is going to help us puree it. Then you are going to use an immersion blender or a stick blender to puree these until they are smooth. And this is going to take a little bit of time. It works a lot better in the cup because you're not going to be chasing it around the bowl or anything, so that works a lot better than using something that's a little bit wider. If you do not have a stick blender, I highly recommend that you get one. They're pretty inexpensive and they work great for things like soups because you don't have to get out the big blender to puree any items. You may need to add a little bit more of the liquid as you go just to get it smooth. You just kind of have to play it by ear. As I mentioned before, you're going to continue cooking those onions until they are soft and a little bit brown. And they're also going to become more clear as you go. And then you are going to add your ground beef and cook that until it is brown. And as you are going through these stages, you do want to make sure that you are getting each of these items brown, because this is your chance to add flavor with each stage. And if you do not get that browning in with each stage, you are not going to get a chance to get that flavor back. So it is very important that you brown things as you can. Then you are going to add your seasonings and stir those in and cook them until they become fragrant and you smell them, because that's another chance to add some flavor. We are going to add in your tomatoes that have been blended with your immersion blender. This helps out a lot if you have used whole tomatoes, and stir that in. Then we are going to add in our pureed chilies. Make sure you scrape all of that goodness in there because you don't want to waste any of it. And this is a whole lot better than using powdered chili because it is a whole lot more flavor. So now we are going to add our prime rib and our bones. And cook those until the beans are finished cooking. And so this is going to be the prime rib that has bones on it. Once your beans are done, you're going to remove those bones from the pot and remove the meat from the bones. And this should be pretty soft by that point in time. And just use a fork and a sharp knife to take the meat off the bones. And at this point in time, you're going to have to do a taste test because this tastes amazing. And having cooked this in the chili, it's going to taste incredible. You're going to add your beans into your pot and stir that. Add your prime rib chunks in there that you cut from the big chunk of the prime rib into the chili. And when we made the prime rib, we just cut whatever meat that we had into chunks and froze it. Add some frozen corn in there. and our pot is getting very, very full. And then make sure to add your meat that you cut off the bones in there as well. And then you want to stir and cover this and simmer at least 30 minutes or until you're ready to serve. The more you simmer it, the more that flavor kind of marries together. And this is even better the next day because everything has kind of come together. And you can serve this with some sour cream and cheese, and this is the best chili you will ever eat in your life. And as I mentioned before, if you do not have leftover prime rib like we did, obviously you can make this just with ground beef, but this is chili that is elevated and incredible. This is just your reminder, we do have our 2 membership levels we would love to have you join, but subscribing is absolutely free and helps out our channel as well. So if you do not have extra cash right now, we completely understand. Cash is a little bit hard to come by in this economy. So otherwise, we would love to have you as a subscriber. Thank you so much for watching Mixing with Mercs. Don't forget to let us know in the comments if you'd like to try this recipe. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next week.